Well, Bruce, there's so much to talk about in New South Wales harness racing, particularly you and the team at Club Menangle. I'm going to get straight to the point. There's been a lot of discussion, and I want to know how founded it is about considerations now, not next year, but going ahead about possible changes to the Miracle Mile. I'm talking about how you get into the race, what the field size might be, all those sorts of elements. Any substance to that?
In a word, no. Now, every year we review the Miracle Mile Carnival. Now, this year it's, of course, been a really different lead-in for us, but the process at the end of it will be the same. We'll sit down and we'll go through what's worked, what hasn't worked, if there needs to be any changes. Of course, this year, if there were even considered changes, it wouldn't have happened given what's occurred around us. But in terms of, certainly not foreshadowing any changes. Having said that, as I say, we do the review every year. There has been plenty of talk. Obviously, some people have some strong ideas about changes. And let's face it, the history of the Miracle Mile has been around controversy, and that's good for the race to talk it up. And so we're certainly happy to consider changes. And if any of those are seen to have merit, absolutely, we would talk about those after this year's carnival.
Can I ask, just out of left field, and I want to talk a lot more about the Miracle Mile as well, but is there any consideration then to another race on your calendar, maybe a Len Smith becoming an invitational type event?
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. We have talked quite a bit about the Len Smith in the last 6 months. The race, of course, didn't occur this year due to the COVID situation. The placement of it will need to change from our point of view as a result of the change to the calendar, to the racing season. So with that has brought about how can we make the race more significant on the calendar. So I think there's a good chance we could do something more significant with that race. It's certainly a race we want to build more. So I think that's certainly on the cards.
All right, we know it's been a tough time everywhere. It's been a year that we'd all like to forget in a lot of ways. But the great news is the Miracle Mile prize money, despite the challenges, is staying at that magical 1 million, and it will stay in the same time slot.
Yeah, that's right, mate. So we're really pleased with that. I mean, fortunately for us, we've had good news around funding at the right time. We deliberately held off making any announcements around the carnival with prize money for that reason. It was always our desire to maintain it where it was, but that was going to be a real challenge with the original funding forecast that we were given. It is great news because the whole carnival prize money will remain as it was. So that's great news, not just for the Miracle Mile itself. I mean, it's our $1 million race for harness racing. So we didn't want to lose that. But we've also been able to maintain all the other Group 1 races around it, both the qualifying races, the sprints. The Newcastle Mile will be retained as a Group 1 race as a qualifier as well. So the $200,000 races remain as was. The Chariots of Fire, the Oaks, the Derby, the Ladyship all remain at those levels as well. So that's great for that level of racing.
Yeah, fantastic news. Now, they're the major races. Everyone says what's happening on the more bread and butter front, and you've got some really positive news which has come out about, I think it's upwards of $1.5 million in additional stake money has been put on the table.
Yeah, that's right, mate. So in addition to the feature races being retained, so as I said, perfect timing for us at this time of year to get the updated funding information. And what's important with that funding information too is it's a mixture of actual data that they've been able to collect up until the end of October, but also it takes into account some changes in patterns that were expected to happen when things like the government stimulus, et cetera, started to be wound back, and what effect that would have. So it takes into consideration those factors as well. So we're confident to make these changes and that we can sustain them. So, and as you say, it's actually 1.6 million over the course of a full year is the figure we're talking about. Our midweek prize money goes back to 9,000 where it was pre-COVID. Most of the tiers on a Saturday night go up by 2,000. Our base starting point on a Saturday night be 13,000, up from the current 11. The other tiers all go up by 2. 16s go to 18, 18s go to 20, 22s go to 24. We also will be introducing a lot more $20,000 races that was previously base prize money. Will come onto those programs as well. And we also take over the funding of the country series, which has been so successful. And we take back the top-ups to the heats out in the country, and we also take over the funding of that the finals again. So, as I say, in all, it's 1.6 million over the course of the next 12 months that will bring back in, and that starts from 1 January. So we're only a couple of weeks away from that taking effect.
Yeah, it's nice to have that really good news to share. Just in wrapping up with you, Bruce, COVID has made it really hard for people to get trackside. We know, we're largely coming out the other side of a touch wood, but where are you at with it all? With crowds, what are the next steps, so to speak?
Yeah, so again, hopefully it stays the way it is, but it is getting more positive news at the right time for us. So, for example, last Saturday night we had our first night markets back here, which have been so successful for us at bringing new audiences to the track on a Saturday night, and so that was our first one since COVID struck, and we had 3,000 people through attending the markets, and the number of those people sitting trackside. They weren't allowed to sit at tables and chairs, so they're on picnic rugs and things. But the number of people through the course of the night watching the races is fantastic, because the majority of those people aren't harness racing passionate. They're here for the night markets, for the food markets. But to see them all out there watching the racing is great, because that's, from our point of view, that's what those sorts of promotions are about.
Bruce, terrific to get that update. We stay tuned on the Miracle Mile, potentially on the Len Smith as well, but it's building towards a remarkable carnival with so many stars across all age groups, and we look forward to another fantastic Carnival of Miracles just around the corner. Thanks for your time, Bruce.
Great. Thanks, mate. Merry Christmas to you and your family, mate, and to everyone in the industry.